If you're a student, you don't expect to be told by the government that you can't study anymore. But a new Home Office policy has done just that. Bail has been used in the criminal justice system for hundreds of years. But in January this year, bail was extended. Almost everyone applying for asylum in this country was now to be put on immigration bail.
For those claiming asylum, it used to be that when they made that application, they were granted something called temporary admission. And this has now changed, and we know that they are now granted immigration bail. And of course, the word bail has all these connotations of criminality that previously didn't exist for asylum seekers.
In the last 2 weeks, Newsnight has found evidence of systematic problems in the way in which immigration bail has been rolled out. Specifically, the removal of the right to study for many asylum seekers, something that should never have happened. This is what the immigration bail form looks like, complete with a study restriction. And this is what it says will happen to you if you don't comply.
So even at night I can't sleep.
The form was sent to Ibrahim, an asylum seeker from Northern Africa 4 weeks ago. We've agreed to protect his identity as he fears talking might damage his asylum claim.
I got the letter before my exam, about 2 weeks before my exams. So I couldn't study and I couldn't have my exams.
You're not allowed to work.
Yes.
You're also not allowed to study. What does that feel like?
Feeling like angry and depression. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I'm thinking about a lot of things. So even I'm thinking I will kill myself. So if I can't study, so what am I gonna do? This is the one way I can make my life better. But now even they closed the one way.
The day before Ibrahim's exam, his study restriction was removed after judicial review.
Reading that letter was like, why? What is this?
But Newsnight has spoken to others like Ibrahim with similar experiences of people who should never have been told they couldn't study. We asked the Home Office whether they kept figures on immigration bail. We were told that they weren't routinely published and that a study ban should only be applied to people who had exhausted their asylum appeal. So we asked asylum charities up and down the country what they'd found. This is what we were told by one charity in Halifax.
We have 400 asylum seekers housed in Calderdale. We see on average about 50 asylum seekers each week come into our offices, and of every single one of the bail forms that I've seen has the restriction on study. I've personally seen about 20.
And in Birmingham, Asylum Matters looked into how many people were getting a study ban with another charity.
We found that 45 people's forms, out of 45 people's forms, 28 of them had the restriction on study. Now, the vast majority of the people that access that service, around 90%, are people that have got a pending asylum claim and therefore an asylum seeker.
When this legislation was going through Parliament, the government said very clearly that the use of the study restriction should never be rolled out in this way, as this letter shows to Lord Rosser from the Advocate General for Scotland.
The power is not, as was suggested, about trying to deny education. We do not intend to impose, through the use of the power, a blanket ban on asylum seekers accessing education.
In total, Newsnight has been told by asylum charities of over 50 cases where a study ban has been imposed that shouldn't have been. And many believe these cases are just the tip of the iceberg.
So many of these cases will go unseen. It's only those who already have connections with lawyers or support organisations who will have someone to turn to discuss the fact that they've been given no study conditions. There are plenty of young people, for example, who don't have access to that kind of support, and we won't hear about those cases.
If I could stress to the noble lord that anyone...
On Wednesday, 2 weeks after we first approached the Home Office with evidence of asylum seekers receiving a study ban, the Home Office Minister Baroness Williams finally admitted there was a problem.
There may be cases who inadvertently have actually fallen foul of a study restriction. And as I said before, it's not mandatory to impose a restriction on study, and it should only be imposed where appropriate.
The Home Office has now updated its guidance to immigration officials, saying,
Anyone who claims asylum should not have a study condition applied to them. If there is any doubt over whether study should be restricted, no study condition should be applied.
What the new guidance suggests to us is that the old guidance was not clear and possibly incorrect, that the Home Office officials that were trying to fill out the immigration bail papers given to asylum seekers didn't really understand what they were supposed to be filling out.
It's not just immigration officials that seem to be somewhat confused. Take this email from Leicester University to students. Previously, asylum seekers at any stage in the process could study. However, updated guidance from the Home Office states that we are not permitted to use immigration bail conditions to let you study. That is not true. If you're an asylum seeker, you can study. The University of Leicester said they were just trying to follow the previous Home Office guidance. We simply don't know how many people this affects, or how many asylum seekers pulled out of courses. One immigration lawyer told me that this could affect hundreds and possibly thousands of people.